Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Today we're not doing any electronics, today we're coding. What are we coding? Or maybe, since I'm releasing this on my other channel, you probably have no idea who I am. I am a software engineer, but I also have a small repair shop in which I repair stuff, right? One thing that every repair shop needs is a ticketing system, right? The customer needs to submit a ticket, then you communicate in that ticket, and then customer pays, or customer sends the device in, you fix it, you send it back, and you accept payment. So far I've been using PayPal, eBay, Venmo, all those direct payment processors. But that doesn't work for everyone. Especially in this business, many customers just want to be able to go to your site or basically give you the credit card number and be done with it. You process my payment. I don't have a PayPal account. I don't have Venmo. I just wanna pay. So in reality, often I either get a cash inbox or check. Maybe not too often, but it happens. And that is obvious security vulnerability. It's not very safe to be sending stuff like that in the box, especially cash. Because maybe with the check, yeah, you can, if I didn't receive it, you can cancel the check, or but you're not gonna be able to cancel the cash. So, what I made, or maybe what I use is called Hesk. This is free software, and I rely on free software because, well, I don't make much money on repair shop, and I don't really do it for the money, so it's all good. So this is free. And we have people mowing the lawn using some heavy equipment. So we're gonna have some noise in the background, sorry about that. So let's submit a ticket. blackhorserepairs@gmail.com. That's the repair shop. And hey, I need a repair. My stuff broke. I need it fixed. Right, and a simple spam prevention. And we submit a ticket. Okay, that is our ticket number. Alright, now if we go to the administration panel, we're gonna see that new ticket over here. Right, and this is what I see on the back end. And I can see that, oh, you already submitted a ticket before, and it's even open. So suppose I fixed it, right, and I tell the client it's fixed, right? It changes status to replied, all good. But now the customer wants to pay. So at the moment what I do is I go to the other project that I created in Cake4, which is an integration with Stripe. Stripe is a pretty common payment processor among many others, and I just add a payment request, so I modify the database directly and say this is $50. The amounts are all in cents. That removes the problems of floating point math and all that stuff. And repair, whatever, created that will be auto-filled by, yeah. Okay, now we have that request. Let's copy the ticket again, ticket number I mean, and now the customer can go to payments.local, in this case that local, and the customer receives this link. It takes its sweet time to load because we're in debug mode, so there's like a lot of stuff going on in the background and the abstraction. So this is quite normal with Cake. I don't know why. And normally not that. Oh, hang on. Okay. All right, because we received a. This is payments.local. And so we received a debug request, and we cannot find the path on server, or can we? Well, let's just accept this. See what's gonna happen. Because I don't have breakpoint set, but actually let's set a breakpoint and test it. This is gonna be in a make payment. That's gonna be probably in pages controller, I would think, because it's so simple. Yeah, make payment. Let's do a breakpoint here and refresh and see if we can catch the. No, we're not catching the breakpoint, so that's fine. Okay, that's what the customer sees, right? $50 for all the, that's a total, and we have one entry, and we can add multiple entries for another $10, and that is I don't know, shipping, right? Which means we're gonna have the total of 60. Right, and then when you hit continue the payment, you are redirected to Stripe checkout. You make a payment here. You see what it's for. You can use the card. You can use other, payment methods. And once you fulfill the, let's do blackhorserepairs@gmail.com. This doesn't matter, and this doesn't matter, and all that. Payment was successful, and well, I'm redirected to production because, well, that's how it's configured. This the same. Now the webhook received a information, but the signature is not going to be valid, so nothing's going to happen there. But if this was the if this was a production payments.local/success/ticket, right? And we have the and you can go back to your ticket from here. Oh, why is it not? Oh, ticket ID not found because. Why was the ticket not found? Oh, okay, because again, I was redirected to production. That link went to production. Yeah. So I would have to just modify the base URL over here. So as you can see, it's not the whole process is not really set up to be used locally. Working with a webhooks, it's a little more complex because obviously the Stripe is not going to be able to reach out to your local environment to send you the confirmation. So there are ways around it. You can set up your local machine using ngrok, have the a public URL that will just redirect to your local environment. There's plenty of ways around it, but that's not an issue in my case, because yeah, payment system works great, but the issue that I have is that I need to have access to the database to add payment requests. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is to have my wife take care of that, just setting the payment request and stuff. For that to be possible, we need some kind of interface. So let's inspect our Hesk, or maybe let me just get you up to speed what I want to do, what I want to have achieved. Creating an interface that will allow you to add those payment requests. Simple enough, right? We just need to add one record to the database, and most of the data is supplied by the user. That's not a problem, but we can't allow anyone to do that, right? Right now the payments has no authentication, authorization, or anything, because we don't need that, right? If there's no vulnerabilities there. I don't need to put it behind the login or anything like that. If you want to send me money, right? But I cannot give you the access to be able to create payment requests. Not because that would give you anything, like, it's not like you received that money or anything. It's not like we're putting the bank account numbers over there. So it's not exactly a security vulnerability, but you can make a lot of mess, So we don't want that. So we want some kind of authentication system. But we already have Hesk, right? Let's do hesk.local, right? And when you go to administration panel, you can log in. So I want to use this session, this authentication process, to authenticate users in the separate application. The separate application is written in CakePHP 4, and it uses this simple library that I literally written in one evening. What it does, it's just a simple Stripe API wrapper, which gives you a few static methods that you can call from checkout class. Simple checkout which will only return string. That string is the URL where you redirect the user where they can make a payment. Checkout is a little more complex, and it returns the whole session, the checkout session. It's our implementation of the session. It's not a Stripe session. It's our implementation, but it's basically just a wrapper. Right, it accepts the session object from Stripe checkout. So whatever we got from creating the session, this is what we accept. And we have a payment request. We have actually two of them, because I've been working on the one where you can select multiple lines, multiple products, and that will show up in your checkout on the Stripe page. Because right now it only shows us the amount due and the total. And I would like to put it in the line, so on the checkout page you actually see all the lines, everything you're paying for. Right now you only see it on my page, but when you're redirected to Stripe you only see the total, which is fine, but it's not a crucial feature. And the important thing is the meta, and meta gives us the ticket number, so we know once the request, the confirmation comes to our webhook, we know which ticket this was the payment for, so we can mark it as paid. Because until the webhook, the information comes to webhook, we don't know if the payment was success or not. So that initial redirection from Stripe checkout to our system, that does nothing. That it shows you the information, thank you for the payment and everything, but at that point the payment was not yet marked as actually paid, because the webhook information or the confirmation did not make it to the webhook yet. On top of that, we have payment record ID. In this case, so we have payment requests and we have payments. What's the difference? It's actually maybe a little bit overly complicated, but payments, this record is created for each payment that you make. So it doesn't matter how many requests, like this one, you see the total is 60, and that was 2 tickets, one for 50, one for 10, 2 payment requests, which translates into 1 payment. This is basically a payment intent, a payment, oh my god, how would you call it? A payment record. It's basically the attempt to make a payment for this amount, right? We have a checkout session ID. This is the session that was created, and we see that it's not paid. So in this case, we haven't received a payment confirmation. Because if we did, we would have the payment intent ID over here, and the status. Is there a status? No, there's no status, but oh, it has been updated though. That's weird. Did I oh yeah, it is updated, because yeah, that's fine. So basically this column tells us whether it was paid or not, and once we have payment intent ID, then I can find it in Stripe. Should I need to refund you or give you a partial refund or anything like that, I can find it attached to the ticket. This payment for 60, this is the payment intent ID. I can also find it by the checkout session ID, and just manually copy the intent ID over here if I see in the Stripe console that it was paid, but for some reason in my system it doesn't show up as paid. So I can manually adjust that. And that is one of the functionalities that I also want the administrator to be able to do, to just mark the payment as paid, and either provide the payment intent ID or just mark it as paid. So perhaps we should add status to this table. That might be in the future. Payment requests, on the other hand, they do have status. So once we receive the payment, because this was a simple session, right? Simple checkout. But if we do, this is multiple checkout. Payment record ID, but where do we? Oh, right. So we merge arrays over here. And so this is kind of a problem that I made over here. So some responsibility is on the library side, some responsibility is on the application side, right? So this library is in the packages, and we import it using Composer. But in this case, we do require like a ticket number and payment record ID, that payment record, but we don't expect actual payment request IDs, and we need to have them so the webhook can actually mark those payment requests as paid, can update the status from 0 to, I expect 1, I don't remember, but probably. So for that reason, from our main application, when we create a that was in payment controller, I think this is the webhook, but we had this is custom payment, webhook, and process checkout. That's not it. Process, I think this is the one. Yes. So as you can see, we are grabbing all the payment requests that are attached to this ticket, JSON encode them as an array of IDs. And then when when the webhook receives the information, if it's custom payment, right, if the ticket number is custom, we just completely ignore at this point because this was a custom payment. Custom payment is pretty much what it says. You just come over here, you put in the email, whatever message you want and whatever amount you want, and you continue the payment, and this is the amount that you will be charged. Right, so this was the first functionality that I made because I didn't have that attachment to the tickets. No payment records, no payment requests. So this is our custom payment. So if this is custom, then we don't need to do anything else. Otherwise, we want to mark the payment request as status 1. This should be a constant. And no, BHR, yes, payment requests. But do we update? Oh yes, because we do have BHR payments. We update the payment intent ID. We do have that payment intent ID when we create the checkout session, so it doesn't necessarily have to take place over here. We already have that information after we create a checkout session, but this works this way, well, mainly because this tells me that it has been paid. In any case, we need to update this table in the webhook to mark whatever payment to be successful. So in this case, we're marking it this way, but we could just as well put that payment intent ID in the table when we create the checkout session, and just update the status over here from 0 to 1 that it has been paid, right? The effect is the same, and probably that will be an update because that it just makes more sense. Remember that everything here has been written in one weekend, and by one weekend I mean pretty much in one evening, and then a little touch-ups the next day on Sunday. So this is purely just sketched code. Because I just needed, this wasn't a coding challenge. I just needed a way for the client to pay me, and I told them that I'll send you a link on Monday, and I told them that on Thursday. So I only had 2 days on the weekend to actually make it done, to get it done, and I actually used this laptop because this is my Latitude 3350, very old laptop, but the battery works really great. It's relatively small, relatively light, and it gets the job done. So I just this is the laptop that I use for travels. Basically, it's worth about $35, maybe $50 on a good day. So I'm not gonna feel guilty if I drop it in the water or it's or the bus drives over it. Anyways, this is how our system works at the moment, and now we want something like payments.local/admin. Right, there is no such route, and in the admin I imagine we can maybe paste the ticket number and hit the button, right? So it would redirect us to admin ticket and ticket number, right? Something like that. That will display a currently attached payment requests and the ability to either mark the requests as paid remove the requests and add more requests. Simple enough. But now we need to protect that route, right? So first thing, let's do this. Let's build a whole new scope in routes. That scope will be admin. Void, okay. It's not really needed, but fine. And so first we'll do the get route, which will be /admin. Yeah. Our controller will be what will be our controller? You know what? I'm just, because we could use a prefix as well. That will kind of allow us to organize it better. But I don't want to overcomplicate it, because I'm not sure what the system is going to be beyond the ability to add payments to Hesk, and I don't know if that's going to be released as a standalone product or a library or a plugin. I'm not sure about any of these. So do we want an admin controller just in the with no prefix, or do we want payment requests controller in the prefix of admin? There might be more in the admin that I want to make, because there's plenty of features that are missing from Hesk. Hesk is perfectly fine tool, but very limited experience. I mean, it gives you the bare minimum, which is enough to run a repair shop. I've been using it for over a year now. Other than ability to integrate with SendGrid using API key, I didn't have to make any changes to it. And that change actually was, like a kind of a one-liner, because there's a method. There's not method, a function, because this is not object-oriented. There's a function that sends an email, and I just removed the old function or renamed the old function and made my own function, and which used the SendGrid API. Which means I had to add a composer to the project, because there's no composer in this one. And I'll show you in a second what Hesk looks like, because we need to find out how to use Hesk authorization to use in this one. So okay, let's do this. We'll do admin action. We'll call dashboard, because why not? And no prefix, right? And name of the route will be admin dashboard. Okay. So now let's create that controller. Let's bake it. So we're gonna do php bin cake.php bake controller admin. That will bake both the controller and the test. So that's pretty neat. If it actually does. Because that happens sometimes, and I think that is related to, oh, there you go. There's a breakpoint. Okay, let's run through it. There you go. I gotta figure this out. Why do I keep getting breakpoints? Okay, there is, what was this? Dynamic dependencies will be removed in 8.2. Yeah, the deprecation warning, that's all good. Alright, and we have our, oh, but this is Hesk, no, payments here. So we have our admin controller. Let's add it to the version. Let's actually remove everything because it baked, you know, the typical CRUD controller. This is not going to be CRUD, and that was dashboard. And it will return the response and return this render, and we're gonna call this a dashboard. Yeah. And okay, that's fine. So we have our admin controller. Now let's just add the test fixtures. We don't have an admin fixture. Test index, test all the stuff, we don't need it. Test dashboard returns 200. This get. Now, if you don't understand why I did this, then you don't work with Cake enough. Admin dashboard. So, and this assert response, okay. So, why in line 31 I call get to root? And this is the Cake bug. In my case, or in my view, it's a bug. Maybe it has been fixed, but basically this. Let's run. Let's run the tests. This should run them all. No default interpreter. Oh, it's taking really long. Why would it take this long? Oh, it's probably another, yeah, another breakpoint. Yeah. Framework exited unexpectedly. What is the problem? PDO exception localhost for user. Yeah, I don't have the database set up, do I? Let's add a PHP unit unnamed, and let's do full test. We're gonna use the directory payments. We're gonna use this should load automatically, but let's use alternative configuration file. Why is it? But it shows only. Oh no, it shows files too. Oh, okay, because I don't have the configuration file. Yeah. Okay, So that is fine. That's why it won't work. That is fine. I'll fix that later. We don't need tests at this point. I mean, we should fix that, but let's check the dist file. Let's rename it like so. So we load, exclude installer. Important thing to include Bootstrap. Otherwise it won't work. So let's test runner default configuration. We don't need that. And what else is wrong here? What did it say? Configuration. Oh, right, the configuration file. That's. But I. This is so painful, isn't it? Test root. Test case. Canon. And you're gonna breakpoint on me. And we still have no access for the local host. So let's check out our Bootstrap. YS. Okay, let's remove the migrations. Because we do have migrations that run, so they will run in Bootstrap. Okay, we have a whole bunch of errors, but let's focus on this one. So possibly related to missing template exception. Yeah, and actually let's just run this single test. Let's see. CLI interpreter. Let's run this. Is it gonna run? It will run, but we keep getting the breakpoint on it. Okay, and it says that the template is not found. So let's go to templates. We need admin, and that will be a PHP file, which is dashboard.php. Oh, this is, what did I click? I click class instead of file. PHP file. Yeah. Dashboard. And let's add it. Doesn't matter. And let's rerun the test. And now it should pass. Once we get through the breakpoint. It did not pass because we got 500 instead of. That's weird. Why would it be 500? Oh, okay, that's why. I don't know why this one was we want cake HTTP response. Yeah. And by default it just pulled the different class. Sometimes IDE is just trying to be more trying to be smarter than the engineer, and that's what happens. Okay, now we passed. Okay, so we have an admin controller. That's step one. Now we want to protect it, right? So first, admin, we're not logged in. Missing route admin. How's that possible? Let's go back to routes. The test passed, but the what happened here? And the test passed, but test uses a okay, here's the problem. Okay, because the test uses the name of the route, and that is what I absolutely recommend. The reason, this template here, this is always subject to change, and you should always be able to change it however you like without affecting anything. So now I changed it, I run my test again, and it'll pass again, because this doesn't matter. If instead of using the named route I would use the URL, this would not pass. Nope, it's still passing. Now when we refresh here, we have blackhorserepairs. So this is admin. We probably should use a different layout for this, but it's really just cosmetics. I don't care one bit. I actually don't care what it looks like at all, as long as it works. Especially that this part will only be used by internal staff of blackhorserepairs, right? So, oh, and I wanted to show you that cool thing. Let's close some of these because they're admin controller test. Alright, so if I remove this and run the test, this is killing me. See, it failed. Why did it fail? Because the route, the route matching admin.dashboard could not be found, because the first call of the get, and because this is in the integration trait, this will load the routes. Build dispatcher, I don't remember where it is exactly. I think here, resolve URL. Get route collection, resolve route. Yeah, I don't remember where it was, but basically, as you can see, empirically, it doesn't work. This line is required to basically load the routes. If you run this test separately, obviously, because if any consecutive test after running this will not need that. So it's not like it's required in every single test. I put it in every single test because I usually run those tests separately. Let's run again, and it passes, right? So this actually, one time it took me a few hours to find out why it was happening, and as you can see, I can't even remember exactly where it was, but I traced it down to this behavior where, you know, calling get first time loads the routes. Kind of a silly problem, but there's also an option that I'm not doing something right. But this is pretty much a clean project that you deploy, almost clean, that you get from Composer. The only difference over here, as you can see, I moved my cross-site request forgery middleware to be explicit. Before it was in the application. I think I even have it commented out, yeah. Right. Normally it loads here, which means every single route will have a cross-site request forgery, which is a problem if you have a webhook, and that webhook is a post and it comes from the separate system. They're not gonna have a token for the CSRF, so this wouldn't work. Oh, it didn't work, right? So I just moved it to the separate scope called API, and I just applied the middleware to the main scope. But other than that, nothing really has changed in this project, and just now, renaming the PHP unit XML dist into PHP unit XML, and that's pretty much it. And I disabled the, the migrations. So our tests effectively right now cannot use the database until I resolve that problem. But I don't feel like fighting with it right now. We don't really need the database access at the moment. What we do need is to protect this route based on whether you logged in the Hesk. How do we make that done? There are a few options we can use. How do we communicate those two applications? We have a database. We can use session. We can use cookie. We can use local storage in the browser. We can use cache. We can use the actual drive, which in my case is not read-only, but most likely, in your case, if you develop, if you're part of the more proper software development, your disk is or your drive, your local drive is read-only. You're not capable of writing anything there, so that's what you have cache for, or maybe database. So we're not going to use the database. We could to kind of make sessions and basically manage sessions in the database. We're going to use a cookie. So now, first thing that we got to find out is how does Hesk perform a authentication. So let's go to admin, and is there a login here? No login. Let's go to admin main, right? Oh, I have a Hesk bridge over here. This was a big waste of time. I built this whole system to just kind of import the tickets from Hesk. This was Laravel project. Yeah, contacts and all that. Yeah, oh my god, now seeing this, I really did all that. Jesus, that was a big waste of time. Dashboard, blade, Hesk bridge test. Yeah, it kind of, and environment. Okay, so we need to have the in-script defined, and we need to have Hesk path defined. Well, but actually that's only if we want to create the session for Hesk. So we don't really need to do that. Because we're not going to be doing that. We want to know if the user has authenticated using Hesk. Session start, db connect is logged in. Okay, that's simple enough. So I assume Let's go to Hesk and let's do some confirmations. So I will go to admin slash, yeah, that should be admin main, right? Let's do admin main.php. Well, because I still have a session. So let's destroy the session. And now let's go to admin main. .php. And I'm redirected to login. Alright, and now let's remove the authentication. And we're in. As you can see, it couldn't read my name because it doesn't know who I am. But we know that this line is responsible for determining if the user is logged in. Let's see what it does. Hesk settings, of course, and the URL. Okay, the URL is here just so we can redirect the user back after logging in. So in our session, we need to have an ID, which is ID and session verify. If we don't have them, oh, what is this? All right, auto login. Okay. So there is an auto login and the user is online, then we just kind of revive the session. We're just making the session for this user, right? In other case, we are, oh, so we're just checking if the password hasn't changed. Session verify user password, yeah. Blah blah blah, yeah. And some privileges and stuff. Okay, so looks like this function here that creates our session. Set online, set user to online, check permissions, and that's it. Let's see, set user online. But we didn't set the session. So why am I going through this? I need to set a cookie now that will tell our other application that the user is authenticated. And it needs to be relatively secure, because in this case, this is just ID, the user ID, and that determines what user is logged in. We don't have access to session from the client side, so it's not like it's a security vulnerability, but it's yeah, it's meh. Let's validate active session. Okay, so this is basically hash verification. The salt is salt and hash. That's what it is in the database, isn't it? Let's see it. So that should be Hesk users. Yes. Hesk users. Let's see. Yeah, password. And where's the salt? Do we have salt? No. Let's do this. So this will redirect me, and that is admin index. Okay, index is login. Okay, makes sense. So this is where we actually do start our session. Oh, there's multi-factor authentication. Nice. Backup code verification, backup email, logout. We want do login. Alright, and let's go to do login. Hesk input, Hesk post, user, empty user, blah blah blah, list, username, enter username. Yeah, we got all that stuff. Hesk settings, multi-factor. It's very important to have multi-factor authentication in any kind of application. User entered all required info. Now let's limit brute force attempts. Oh, so I was thinking, what does BF stand for? It's brute force. Okay, then what is the result? From users where let's see the users table again. User is the username, and then we also have name and email and password. Okay, so we're just fetching the user over here. So that's the user row. Hesk password verify. So this is what verifies our password. Oh, so we have two methods of verifying the password for some reason. So at this point we are authenticated. On line 187 we are authenticated. So this would be the place to store the cookie. Yeah, and this is how we fill this session. So we need an ID, Hesk user, email, remember user, multi-factor authentication, and name. So this is what we expect in this session, which is fine. Okay, so we have user, we have ID, and we have session stop, session start. Yeah. So drop a cookie for payments. Cookie for payment system. well, let's set cookie over here. How do you cookie? What was it? Cookie set cookie. See, I haven't used the vanilla vanilla PHP in a while. I forgot how to set cookie manually. Set cookie there. So name, it'll be let's call it BHR for now. Okay, content and the options. Where is this method from? Params. An associative array. Any of the keys expires. Path domain secure, and so on. I need to be able to set the domain. Yeah, this is the one I was looking for. So why do I have two over here? So this is the one I was expecting. Set cookie, yeah, and oh, okay. So we have, there is an override. Yeah, expiration, and let's just do time plus whatever. It doesn't really matter at this point. These are seconds, so yeah. Let's do this. Cookie content expiration. So we'll do this. Yeah. And then we'll figure out. Okay, those guys are killing me with those. And they always do it at this time, because yeah, everybody's at work. Yeah, me too, but I work from home. So it doesn't help me. Okay, path. And important thing, the domain. Why is the domain important? Because we have two applications. One is under blackhorserepairs.com. The other one is under payments.blackhorserepairs.com. So it's important to leave this domain, to leave this cookie to be accessible from the other domain. So it cannot be, well, in this case, if it's blackhorserepairs.com, then payments.blackhorse.com will also be able to read it. But if it was like helpdesk.blackhorserepairs.com and payments.blackhorserepairs.com, then the cookie needs to be set explicitly for blackhorserepairs.com, because by default it'll be set for the helpdesk.blackhorserepairs.com. So in this case, since we're testing it locally, let's just do Hesk .local. What did I write here? Okay, domain. Yeah, it's taking its sweet time because it's a long file. Yeah, it's a really long file. So I probably shouldn't be writing this in this file, but what are you gonna do? Okay, so this is the block that I added. Yes. Now our Let's do, for now, this is very insecure, but let's just do JSON encode. We probably should use JWT, and probably will use JWT, but for now, let's just JSON encode email, or maybe not, ID, user ID, email, yeah, why not? Email, right? So this will be the content of our cookie. So at this point, we can just test it manually. Let's refresh just in case. Let's see our console. Let's go to application and cookies. And we have Hesk local. And admin. You wouldn't have guessed, would you? Oh, and I don't see my cookie. Okay, so what went wrong? Let's see if we can... Why is this so long? Jesus. This is one function. Let's see if we can stop and see what's going on here. Admin. Okay, yeah. And so let's just step through this. Oh, so we went here to process successful login. Okay, so we never made it here. User authenticated if multi-factor authentication is enabled. Oh, okay, so this just handles multi-factor authentication. So we just went too far. And that was the problem. By the way, having xdebug is really useful if it's... so far, as you can see, it was more of a hassle stopping my a composer, stopping my unit tests. Yeah, it's a hassle, but when you need it, it's really good to have it. But we don't have these variables here. So, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna move the initialization of these variables here, because it really doesn't matter. Now, let's see if we can drop a cookie. Yep. Admin, unbreakable password. And we have BHR. This is URL encoded, but it is JSON. Yeah. So this is the cookie that right now identifies us. Now we need a way of verifying that this cookie is real. Like, I didn't do just add cookie, because can you add cookie? You can, right? We can clear. Oh, maybe you can't. I don't know. maybe you can, but in any case, I need to be able to verify that this cookie was actually, it's actually a legitimate cookie. And what is the expiration? The 19th at like 7, and today is the 19th, so it's a short-lived cookie. So before even all this, let's see if we can read that cookie. But to read that cookie, see, we are on payments.local, and this cookie was set to hesk.local, so no way to read this. So first we need to go to whatever we use, Apache extra, and help desk is fine, and we want vhosts, admin hesk local payments hesk.local. Let's leave the payments as it is, but add payments.hesk.local. That will allow us to read that cookie. And one more thing we need to do is find Notepad, run it as administrator, and open hosts, and make sure that host actually is going to redirect us to 127.0.0.1 payments.hesk.local. Okay, and Apache needs to be restarted for the new configuration to be loaded. And now let's go to payments.hesk.local. Okay, accept. I don't care. And cookies, and we have BHR cookie. Yep. And what are these? This cookie was blocked because neither did the request URL domain exactly match the cookie domain, or was the request blah blah blah. Yeah, so you see the difference over here in the domain. This is strictly for payments.local because we have a form over here, so we have cross-site request forgery token. This one was set to hesk.local, and this one to .hesk.local, right? So .hesk.local, that includes subdomains, and this does not, or this one and this one. Right, so we can steal these cookies, but this one is accessible to us. So now, if we go to admin, now we want to add a middleware. So let's bake it. Bake middleware, and this will be called a Hesk session loader. Is it stop at every line? Stop at break at first line? No, it's not selected, so I'm not sure. But if the break at first line was selected, it would probably break here, not here. Not sure, but it just keeps breaking. All right, help desk. No, not help desk. The payments. So we have our middleware. Now let's register it. and we only want to register to the admin routes, right? So first let's add it. So this will only load our cookie. This is not the guard. If the cookie is there, we'll load the information. If the cookie is not there, we're not going to load the information. There's going to be a second middleware that will actually be the guard and not allow us to proceed to the controller if the cookie is not there, if the cookie has not been loaded. So how do you request get cookie params? Is that gonna? Let's test that, because I'm not sure. I very rarely work with actual cookie manipulation. Let's do yeah, and in a second. First, we need to go to our routes and actually instantiate this middleware. Routes register middleware, and this will be Hesk session loader. I'm not gonna call it middleware. New Hesk session loader middleware, and we don't need any arguments. And in the admin routes, we're gonna do builder apply middleware, and it accepts string, yeah, string or strings. Hesk session loader. So now when we go to the site, let's refresh here and see if anything happens. Nothing happened. Good. So as we loaded the test, let's do var dump test and just die here. Yep, that's our cookie, and that's our JSON. So let's call it all cookies. Actually, if request get attribute, and let's call it Hesk session, and the default is null. So we'll do if it's not empty. So we have Hesk session already, which could be the case. Probably not, but it could be. We're just gonna return handle request, because there's nothing else we need to do. Now we loaded cookies. Our Hesk cookie, or let's do Hesk session cookie as all cookies Hesk, no, what was it, BHR, yes, BHR. Null, I guess. Well, if it's null, it's still gonna be null. Yeah, well, so this is supposedly our JSON. So decoded Hesk session. We shall I think I know what we're gonna do. Decoded Hesk session is JSON decode Hesk session cookie as associative array. So now we have users ID and email. So user ID will be decoded session ID, and email will be decoded session email. Right, this is just two fields that we are supplying here. Now, based on that, we can now reach into the database, fetch the user, confirm that the user ID and email matches. But we're gonna also do the hash, and hash is what will actually confirm that the session is valid. What will hash be? The hash will not be the hash from the database exactly, because not. It will be an MD5 of the hash, just to make it a little more secure. So user row pass is it pass? Yes. This is our password, right? And this is SHA-1 with a salt that is separate. But we're not verifying hash because we don't have the actual password. We only have hash. So let's call it hash user row pass. Yes. And the hash will be MD5 of the hash. Now, MD5 obviously is not considered secure, rightfully so. But in this case, we're not really protecting any data, because even if this hash is a compromised, if it leaked, right, it still doesn't give you anything. You're still not going to be able to break the password because you don't have a salt. So this is just a part of the hash. And now on top of that, we also run MD5 on it to make it extra difficult to reverse engineer. So yeah, don't be alarmed that we're using MD5. No worries, we're not MD5ing passwords here. So now let's rinse and repeat. Let's do admin. Let's store it and now refresh. Oh, okay, because I'm not dumping it anymore. So let's dump it again. Decoded session and I. Yep, we have ID, email, and the hash of the hash, the MD5 of the part of the hash. No salt. So now to verify that session, we want to reach into the database. And we need to fetch the user, the original user. Now this will be a little tricky. We could do it in many ways. We could use locator aware trait over here, and then just do this fetch table. In this case, we need to use alias, so we need to bake the entity for the Hesk user, but we don't want the middleware to be responsible for accessing the database and stuff. So we're gonna create a service. We already have one, somewhere. No, even two. We have storage service and payment service. Yep. So fetch Hesk user, and it's gonna accept ID, and it's gonna return array. Maybe not. Let's just do this. Let's bake our Hesk users. Was it called Hesk users? I think so. So let's bake model Hesk users. I think that's what it was. And we're gonna breakpoint here, of course. Okay, we have Hesk user. So in this case, we can just do Hesk user. So we'll just throw an exception if the user is not found. So we're gonna reach out to so here we need to do, actually I don't like that. So if I just do use locator aware trait over here, from this service I will be able to call fetch table, but also from the outside of this service I will be able to call the fetch table. So all these methods here, there's not a lot of them, just 3, 2 or 3. Not a lot, but I don't like that, and I usually just override the locator. So let's just do the new service and we'll call it database service, because we have storage service and we have database service. So database service will just use locator aware trait, and that's pretty much all it will do. And the storage service will require database. Oops. Oops. Trying to be too fast. And this is not my primary keyboard. This is not the keyboard that I usually use. Database, and we want to fetch table, which will be Hesk user. User or users? I think users. Or user. Hesk users table. Yeah, Hesk users table. Okay. So actually let's do, so we're gonna use the select query, or actually not even select query, we're gonna use find. And where, actually we could just get by ID, because that's what we're doing. Yeah, so we can just call get, because we're using primary key ID. This should return a entity. Yeah, entity interface. In this case it's the entity interface, but it will be Hesk user. So once we have that, we can do we have all the information. So we want the storage, new storage service, new database service, and user will be storage fetch Hesk user by the user ID. Having that, now we can do user pass and d5. So we're gonna do the same thing over here. All right, So user hash. So if user hash not equals hash, we know this is not legitimate cookie, right? It has been tampered with somehow. Because it would be easy to just, in that cookie, just switch the one. Because even if the browser doesn't let you change or add the cookies, you can always use Postman, and you're free to do whatever you want with the cookies, and you can just build the request, just bare metal. I don't know, using Python or JavaScript to generate those. So it's the fact that the browser doesn't allow you to change the cookie or add the cookie or anything, it's not any kind of level of security. So we need to be able to confirm that this cookie has been created for this user, right? So if you switch the user ID, the hash will be different and it'll not work. Now, if the same with email, if email is not as user email, same thing, we return. Otherwise, we return the request with why can I not? Oh, right, okay. Why can I not see the? Oh, actually, I don't know why. And what is wrong here? Oh, that's why. Unreachable statement, of course. Yeah. There you go. Okay, we want to return with attribute, which is what was it? Hesk session. And we're just going to keep the user there. Why not? You can keep whatever you want in the request attributes. They are not being, the attribute is not something that is persisted or sent over to the client or received from the client. This is strictly for your backend use. So it can be any object, really. In this case, it'll be a, what do you call it? The user. The Hesk user entity. And since we do have the user over here, so if this is working, if everything is fine over here, we should make it here, so we can just var dump the user and die. So if everything's working, we should see the dump of the user. Too few arguments to storage construct. Okay, that is because I just added the requirement for the storage service to have database, and I used the storage service as a shared service, so it's auto-loaded when the application loads. Fetch Hesk user must be type of int string given. Yep, we have strict types configured, which is fine. Let's just convert it here, and we have Hesk user. Yep. This is our data, right? Our full hash is admin1 and all that stuff. So now, from this point, we use so if you log into Hesk, we have your Hesk user in our, what do you call it? In our request attributes. Right? Now, the only thing that is stopping us from this working is one last thing. Because right now, if we refresh here, we still can get here. Right? So we need to bake one more middleware, and that will be Hesk session guard. This is so annoying. Okay, Hesk session guard, and now our Hesk session guard, let's add it. This will be a lot, so this one needs to be called after the previous middleware. Alright, if it's called before, it'll always fail. So if request has get attribute Hesk session. Actually, let's just do this. So this will be our user, our Hesk user, theoretically, or at least we expect that. If is null, or actually even empty user, we don't go to the other middlewares. We terminate here the whole tree. So we want to return redirect. So we'll return a response. New response CakePHP with location. Oh, what is this? Request. Maybe it's HTTP client response. How do I... So I want to return the response over here, which will have the redirect. So you know what? Let's do this. Let's die here. And with the message invalid session, we'll get there. Then if not as user instance of Hesk user entity, same thing, right? Die invalid session. And if user is admin not equals 1, because I think it was 1, I don't remember now, but die you must be an admin user, right? All that. Otherwise we're just following through, right? So right now this is because this should redirect you to either a login page or I don't know, but let's get this working first and then figure out why or how we just mock the response. So we need to register another middleware. Hesk session guard, new Hesk session guard middleware, and we want to apply it here after the Hesk session loader, Hesk session guard. So now our first middleware will load the cookie and set it in the session. So if we don't see any difference over here, that means it's working. We see no difference. And now if we delete the cookie, which is our session essentially, and delete this one and refresh. Well, we did not gracefully handle that. So let's handle that gracefully. Cookie or null. If Hesk session cookie is empty, I thought I did that. I guess not. If the session is empty, we want to just return handler handle request. Nothing more we need to do. And invalid session. There you go. So we have the loader. So now if we go back to our Hesk, log out from this session and log in again. If we go to payments, now, oops, now we're logged in. The only thing that we need to add is when we log out, we need to delete that cookie, because that will stay for a few minutes. That was only like, what, 9,000 seconds, 10,000 seconds that it remains valid. So that is number one. And that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. We have a working bridge between two applications using cookie and using relatively secure method. I'm saying relatively secure because I'm not sure how I would approach trying to break this. Well, if you steal the cookie, then obviously, yeah, it's the better security would be if we also included a like a signature, the physical signature of the device. We could include an IP address and the hash from the server. So this cookie will only work for this server and this client. If you take this cookie and run it from another client, it's not going to work. If you use this cookie on this machine but connect to the different server, it also will not work. That would be a lot better, a lot higher security. The other thing, actually, instead of reinventing the wheel, what we need to do is just use JWT. But since this project is not a Composer project, we would have to, make it into Composer project. And actually, I think I already may have done that because I was using the SendGrid. But I'm not sure if I turned it into Composer project or I just included. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, we have vendor and we have Composer. Do we have Composer JSON? We do, and yeah, yeah, and we have pretty much just code sniffer and PHP unit. And dev and just SendGrid 801. Right, so yeah, we could just pull the JWT library and make the cookie JWT, and that's probably what we will do. But the main goal for today was to get the authentication working for Hesk. So now the only thing that we need to do is just pretty much build the site here. Build the page that will allow us to do everything that we wanted to do. But that will do for this session. In the next session, we will probably let's see, what do we need to do? No, we don't need to, because we have the database, we have the full yeah, so I guess the hard part is done. Now the easy part will be just to build the page and have it do what we want it to do. And now I just need to commit all these from 3 projects. So these are 3 different repositories, although I don't think I did any changes in this one. Did I? No, this one has no changes. So that's good, and we don't need to change anything over here right now, because I've been working on this checkout thing, but I don't think we actually need that for anything. I mean, the way it works right now, it works fine. I like how it works, how I can attach the payment to the ticket. I think that's gonna be fine. I don't need the full checkout, and I doubt this will ever change into a like online store or anything like that. I really don't think so, but who knows? That's how projects get started. You just do one tiny little thing, and then you start building on top of that, and more people start using it, then it becomes a big project. Alrighty, fellas, that will do for today. Stay tuned for the next part where we build a actual page. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a lovely day.